Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're doing Vietnam 1965 through 1975 by GMT games. The goal of my channel is to make these games simpler to play. I am an avid collector of these board games. When I get a game, sometimes you just want to find a video to kind of walk you through some points in the game that you may not understand or you may be struggling with. And it's so hard to find videos like that because most of the videos are guys on there pontificating about their feelings about the game, and it's 2 hours long. You gotta sit through it to get just basic simple information. So the point of this channel is to make these games simpler to play and very quickly or a short amount of time. Alright, so this game is a really awesome game. It's a reprint by GMT of an older game version. Just monster game, huge map, turns is like 8 turns per year, and it's a 10-year campaign, 80 turns, and every 2 turns you have an interface. So it's a full game. I mean, you really get your money's worth out of this one. The Vietnam War, if you like the subject matter, is probably the definitive game on this one. This really gives you the feel what it was like, the frustration in the U.S. with the RVN, and finding VC out in the countryside. So it's just a really great game. But if you look at the back of it, let me turn it around here, and it shows the complexity rating is 7. All right, and the reason why the complexity rating is 7, it's really not that complex a game. The actual function of the game is kind of simple, right? What makes the game complex is the interface and the record keeping, right? So, and that's what I'm going to go over with today. People struggle with the game because of this. The rules don't really explain it. They just says fill it out, right? Well, that's not really an explanation. There's not a set of rules telling you how to fill it out. The explanation for how to fill it out is Easter egg hidden throughout the rules. So you find bits and pieces throughout the rules, which is beyond frustrating. I can't tell you how long it took me to figure out what's going on the sheet, what I'm supposed to be putting there. There's an explanation in the playbook. It's not a very great explanation. It doesn't really explain a lot of things. It just kind of walks you through one instance, So it's very frustrating to try to learn the record sheets. Okay, so it is my hope here today to explain it to you in just a few moments. Go through it. That way you can just watch the video and save yourself the headache that I and other players have gone through trying to figure out how to fill out this record sheet. If you get past that, the game is awesome. Fun game, just a lot of features in the game that I just love, so let's get to it. I will pull out here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull out our record keeping sheets. Okay. Just a moment here. Alright, so this one, now you don't actually have to use this one. You can use the actual map board. Alright, but I like doing this because I can't set up the map. I don't have the table space. I don't know if you've seen the game, but it's a massive, huge map, right? And so I just don't have the table space at the moment. So I'm playing on Vassal, so I'm using this to keep track. With this, you go through each territory. You roll to see how it's progressing as far as is it becoming more loyal to the South Vietnamese, or is it going towards the VC? And so you different modifiers on your roll. There is an explanation in the rules for this one, so I'm not going to go over for it. This particular interface, what we're doing now, is between the spring and summer here. I've already rolled for the population check, pacification for this turn, so I'm just going to show you this as a starting point here. But the sheets in question I'm talking about are these sheets here, right? U.S., North Vietnamese, South Vietnamese, right? They really don't give you an explanation, okay? So I'm gonna give you some key things about the game that you could easily miss if you just did one read through of the rules, okay? So the commitment of the game acts like a currency, right? And your morale is a cap on that, right? So the United States starts with a very high morale. Every time they commit forces, it dings off their morale, and the morale ticks down, okay? The North Vietnamese are the opposite, right? Their morale starts out very low, right? And based off events in the game and U.S. commitment and things of that nature, the morale ticks up, right? But you could never spend more commitment than morale, right? So if your morale is 50 and your current commitment level is 30, that leaves you 20 that you can spend that turn for the North Vietnamese, all right? So that's a key point in filling these out, all right? So starting the turn, this section here is morale, okay? This section here is a new commitment. And this section here is what you have available for the turn, okay? If any of you are Next War fans, of GMT's Next War, Next War Korea, Next War Poland, etc., it has sort of a record-keeping track, kind of similar, kind of makes me think of that when I play. So, but you control what you can bring in. So if you spend money on air points, you get those same air points every single turn, unless you lose them in bombing or combat, then they tick down. You have to commit more and more, but you could commit as much as you want, but every time you commit, your commitment goes up, getting closer to your morale cap, All right, so, but back to the main section here. So this is morale, right? So in the spring turn, the United States ending morale was 488. So for the interphase, summer interphase, we're going to put 488 right here. Okay, you see down here, U.S. ending morale. These are things that happen during the spring turn. Puts us at 488. Okay, so let me get my trusty pen. If you're wondering, I laminated the sheets and I use erasable markers. Right, that way I can write. I don't have to have 500 copies of it stacked in the game. I can just write on it, erase it, write again, So let's put 488 in starting U.S. morale. Okay, all right. So we're starting summer with 488, okay? Haven't had any U.S. counters eliminated. SVN population control, that brings us back to this sheet, which we've done really good with the South Vietnamese. I think we're up to 258 for population control. Now it's still early in the war. It's going to get worse because the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong are starting to get a lot stronger here. So they're probably going to really beef it up this turn because they're going to have a lot of commitment. So, all right. So population control. Let's get out the morale chart here. Give me just a moment. All right. So we come to the morale chart. You see right here. All right, so we're at 258, so we're right in here. So we get a +1 for our morale for population control, all right? So let's put the +1 here for 1 moment. Okay. Okay. Alrighty, so the next is bombing of the North. We haven't decided what we're going to bomb yet, so we're going to skip that and leave it blank. Same with U.S. commitment. Still got a 3-star general. Let's see, 3-star general with a +1. Still got him. Haven't had a coup yet. It's looking good for as far as coups for a while. We only got really two or three leaders that are kind of discontented, but Most of them are really high up, and I don't want to mess with them. All right, let's see. We haven't invaded Cambodia or Laos. Every third capital captured. So if the North Vietnamese or the Viet Cong move through a capital, which those are the red cities, squares or circles, they put a marker, captured capital. NLF attacks didn't have I think really one of those last turn because we're trying to get North Vietnamese units in the game. So let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, so you have to get 8 to 15 attacks in the preceding season to even get a ding on the morale. They're not even close to that yet. As the war goes on, they'll get closer. But let me count up the capitals right quick. Give me just a moment. Okay, so we got 13 capitals that have been occupied by the NLF forces this last spring turn. So if you read the instruction here, where are we at? Every third capital. So that'd be a -4 to morale. Last turn it was 6, so we're doing better here. So give me just a moment. I'm gonna put okay, so we got a -4 there. Okay, so we're gonna leave this blank because we're gonna do commitment here. We're gonna so that's gonna come in here. We're gonna see if there's a coup, which is probably not gonna be, or unstable government. But we're gonna skip down to commitment here. Okay, so this is where you decide what forces you're gonna bring in, right? So if you look over here, you got a cost and commitment, all right? So if the United States spends 1 commitment cost, you can get 2 artillery, 105 artillery units. And that's another thing. If you're playing the game, right, and you're asking yourself, man, what is the difference between a 105, 155, and a 175 artillery piece, right? There's no explanation. You have to look at the counters. On the back of the counters, it'll show you which is which. Now, the higher level one, the 175, is higher firepower, right? But since I was playing on Vassal and I didn't actually have the counters out, I about busted my head banging it trying to figure out, how you tell the difference. So I just happened to look at the counter sheet and look at the back of them. I'll show you right quick here. Give me just a moment. Okay, so here are your artillery units. See here, Arvin, US, same thing. You look on the back, it tells you, see, 175, 155, 105, okay? Just a heads up for that one, so you don't get frustrated with it like I feel like an hour reading through the rules trying to find out how you could tell the difference, So, all right. Same with everything here. Air mobile points. To me, those are the best units in the game, the airborne and the air mobile units, because it's really a game of whack-a-mole when it comes to the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese. You're chasing them all over the board. It's not easy. Being an air mobile does help. This is a big one. Supplies to the South Vietnamese, right? So whatever you send to them, that's what they get to spend on units, right? So you spend 1 commitment cost, they get 7 supply points, right? Okay, so you spend 3, they get 21. You spend 4, they get 28, and so on. Economic aid program, I haven't really used that yet, but what that is if you send them an economic aid program, it boosts their morale. their morale's riding high right now, right? So I'm not going to send them economic aid package because their morale's pretty high. Korean and Thai regiments, early on, you get the roll for the Korean regiments. Once the commitment level hits a higher level, then you can roll for the Thai. Battleship, already got the New Jersey and cruisers. They can be support. They have support features on them where they can support a ground attack. They also have, you can conduct bombardment so far into the map, right? McNamara line, I've looked at the McNamara line. I'm not real, it restricts trail movement, things like that. The cost of it's just high, so I don't know. So what you would do is you would pick what forces you're bringing in. If you want to bring in a battalion, it's one for every battalion. Headquarters is one, so on and so on. Then you add all these up and you put total new U.S. commitment, right? And then the ending commitment. So last turn our commitment was 86. This is for the spring. I haven't filled in the summer yet. So last turn it was 86. We spent 17 on commitment. So 86 and 17 puts us at 103. So over here for summer, we're going to be starting at 103. All right. So let's write that in there. Okay, so whatever we spend on commitment this turn will be added to 103, and we will have a new commitment level at the end of spring, or summer, I'm sorry. Now, the amount we spend affects North Vietnamese morale and South Vietnamese morale. I think it's a 20%. So, give you an example. Last turn, we spent 17, right? Where was it? Let's see. Total commitment 17. All right. 20% of 17 was added to the North Vietnamese morale and the South Vietnamese morale. So that's another factor as well you got to consider when deciding what units. The real goal for the United States is to get the ARVN Army to do it, right? I mean, the less you commit, the better. If you commit a bunch of stuff right out the gate, you're going to be struggling the whole game. Like I said, I just, yeah, the big commitment focus so far has been air power, supplies. You know, I only got 2 units. I got the Marines in there. I got the 101st Airborne. I got the, I think 7th Cavalry, or Air Cav in there. So, I mean, it's, I don't really, right now the ARVN Army is pretty effective. Now that's going to probably change when the North Vietnamese get enough units where they can mount some serious attacks, right? So, but for right now, I think I'm doing pretty good as the free world allies here. So, all right. So once you go through your commitment and everything, get all that entered, you're going to come down here and determine how many available air units you have, right? So this was the spring turn, so you got monsoon effect. So you take the 20% off for monsoon after you've done your strategic bombing, right? So I used 20 for strategic bombing. It left me 7 for the 2 spring turns. Take 1 off for monsoon season. That left me 6, right? I didn't lose any that turn. Didn't have any casualties. So so I still have 27 air units available. All right, air mobile, I've got 3 available. Let's see here. I got 2 Riverine, which I'm probably going to beef that up some because there's a lot of fighting going on in the Mekong Delta. Those help you cross river and attack just like they weren't there. Okay, so that's how you do the United States one. Okay, so right before I switch over to the ARVN, I just want to show you that last turn I sent, I spent 4 commitment on military supplies for the ARVN Army, which times 7 gives me 28 supply for the ARVN. Okay, so on to the ARVN. Alrighty. So their starting morale last spring was 82. Right, and they got a +1 for population control. So if you look at the same morale chart, you know, let's see, they're right here, so they got a +1. Actually, this turn they're going to go up to +3 for summer because they're at 258, right? So they got a 1 last turn, and the U.S. had unrestrained bombing of the North, so they got a +4. They really like that. Let's see here. The U.S. commitment, they got a +3. That 20% factor applied. And then every third capital, they had a -6. Same as the U.S. Morale. Their morale gets affected by every third capital. Same with their leader. So when you add all these pluses and minuses, it came up to a +3. The morale went from 82 to 85, right? Starting population in the spring was 247. Now in the summer, it went up to 258, okay? So ending morale was 85. I'm going to write that over here. All right. So let's put 85, okay? So the U.S. is going to bomb the North, though we don't know if we're going to do unrestrained or restrained yet. Some of these I'm going to skip because they come later in the interphase. Population control, they get a +3 now. Like I said, they're at 258. All right. So that gives them a +3. Like I said, they're real happy in South Vietnam here. Let's see. Alrighty. U.S. commitment, we haven't decided yet. Third capital, they're going to have the same -4 that the U.S. had. Okay, 3-star leader, they're going to have the same +1. No U.S. economic aid packages coming in. Like I said, we haven't looked for a coup yet, so, or U.S. hasn't decided their commitment yet, okay? Going to do that probably off camera because I got to make some decisions here. So they receive supplies from the United States. All right. So last turn they got 28 supplies. All right. We spent 4 commitment. You get 7 for every one you spend. That's 28. The total population is from the last turn. That's what they were starting with, 68. So of the population that they control, which is 258, 68 of them are involved in the army. Okay. Now, the way this works is the South Vietnamese cannot go over the population that they control. All right. So if they control 200 of the population, then they can go up to 132 personnel. They're at 68. Right. So they can go up 132 more. That'll put them at 200. They control 258 right now. That's pretty high. You know, that's probably going to go down. When you come down here, you notice that they have a supply cost. They don't have commitment. They got a supply cost, a personnel cost, right? So if you build a brigade or regiment, it costs you 1 personnel and 2, out of focus, and 2 supply points, right? So I spent 3 personnel and 6 supply points to create 3 brigades there. All right. Same with the replacement points, and these are huge in the game. Spent 1 personnel and 2 replacement points. That gets you 4 for every one you spent, right? So I spent 1, I got 4. These down here, excuse me, these down here, they don't cost any personnel. They strictly supply costs. These are good to buy, mainly to hold spaces, right? To hold capitals, because they don't cost you any personnel, but at the same time, they're very weak units, other than maybe the artillery, right? So, so you add up the personnel and the supply, you come down here. So my personnel went from 68 to 72, right? And the supply, of the 28, I spent 17, or no, I spent 11. That leaves me 17, right? So when I start the next turn, I'm going to have 17 plus whatever the new commitment the U.S. gives to us to spend. All right. So that in a nutshell is the SVN record sheet. All right. Just remember, your total personnel cannot exceed what your population control is. All right. Now it's not even close right now, but it's getting closer. You know. All right. On to the North Vietnamese. All right. Their sheet is together. It's the same thing. Morale here, commitment here, and then the bottom half is the VC. Okay, and it's very similar. So you add up, take your starting morale. It's my starting morale, ending morale from last turn is 43. My new morale for summer will be 43. All right. Just a second here. So we haven't got the U.S. commitment yet. Let's see. Once we get that figured in, current morale, based on current morale. So the the North Vietnamese, their morale goes up. It's like it compounds itself, right? So right now we're sitting at 43 morale, right? So that gives us 6. If we're at this level, we get 6 more morale points. That's probably about to go up. We need to get to 70, so it's probably going to stay there for this turn, right? So we could probably go ahead and stick 6 more in there. Whatever the U.S. commitment is at 108, so it's right here, but it may go up here depending on what we spend, what the U.S. spends. Either way, I'm adding 9 or 12, so that's 15 I'm about to add to morale, plus a percentage, 20% of whatever the U.S. spends on commitment, right? So we're going up at least 15 this term, plus a little bit more. Right now we're at 43. Our morale is going to go to 58. Our current commitment is 43. If I look at it here, yeah. So the commitment we ended spring with was 43. So our starting commitment is 43. The morale is going to go up to at least 58, maybe 60, 59, 60. That's going to leave us, 15 to 17 points that we can spend on commitment, because 58 minus 43 is a 15-point difference, right? So remember, the morale is the ceiling, the commitment is the floor. It's going up to the ceiling, right? And so we'll have to do the U.S. commitment first and then figure out the North Vietnamese, all right? So when you come down here, right, they can spend on their own units, or they can send supply points to the VC, right? Trail, they can send it 2 ways. They can send it through the trail, the Ho Chi Minh Trail, or they can send it along the coast, right? Both of them have their own risk, okay? So last time we didn't have a lot to spend. We sent them 2. I think U.S. bombing took 1 out for the trail. These are multiplied by a factor. It's in the strategic warfare part of the book, how much they get multiplied by. But the total supply that the North Vietnamese or the Viet Cong started with was, let's see, 7 trail supply and 4 sea supply, plus 1 leftover. So I had them starting at 12. All right. So same with them. So okay, so same with them. Personnel 30. They spent 3. They didn't have a lot to spend this last turn, so personnel went up to 33. Same thing. Personnel costs, supply costs, exact same way as the RVN. The total population is, let me pull it up here, it's 360. Okay, that's the total population of Vietnam there, as far as the game is concerned. All right, so you look, 360. All right, you subtract that from 360. That's what because this is controlled by the ARVN. You subtract that from 360. That's how much the VC can draw on. Okay. So they don't have a lot to draw on right now, as this is going to go down because the population controlled by the ARVN is going up, right? But they're not far, right? I mean, they got plenty. For them right now, the bigger issue is getting supplies. So last turn they spent all 12. They spent 3 personnel and 12 supply points. So that's 1 and 4. So we spent 3. So 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 3 is 12. So 3 and 12. This is supply. This is personnel, right? Started with 30 personnel. We get 3 bonus personnel on the trail. We spent 3, right? So we got a total of 33. Really this should be 30 because the 3, we can use the 3 that came down on the trail. So it should still be at 30. I'll correct that. But we spent all our supply as well. So all 12 supply points used. What we did last turn is there's a rule where you can take 3 battalions, turn them into a regiment. They have to be in the same space, and you have to spend this here to switch them over to regiment. Regiment is a 6 strength and higher with support, whereas the battalions are 1, 2, or 3. The regiments are more powerful, but at the same time, I have less units on the board for it, right? So that's a trade-off you have to consider there. So, but anyway, that in a nutshell is the record keeping sheet. So hope this helped. Any questions, leave them in the comments. If I got anything wrong, leave it in the comments. It's kind of questionable, where is this reflected from the previous turn or is this turn? Those questions are still vaguely addressed in the rules, if addressed at all, but I'm assuming it's all the current turn that we're doing it for. So anyway, like I said, if I got anything wrong or incorrect, just leave me a comment in the comment section. I just want to pass it along. I mean, like I said, this was so frustrating to figure out and put together. And if I can save someone else having to go through this headache, then that's my goal. I hope you enjoyed it. If there are any other games you want to address or any issues with this game you want to address, I'll be happy to go through them. This is probably the hardest part of the game because it's not really described in the rules. Most of the other functions of the game are described in the rules. Like I said, not to knock the game. The game's a great game. I'm playing it now. I played almost a year through here. So like I said, it's getting more and more exciting to play as I go along, right? Because you're starting to get more units in. Starting to heat up. So anyway, hope you liked it. Thanks. Have a wonderful day.